Hello and welcome to Figure Skating Mess. 2023 begins the second season where Russian figure skaters are completely banned from international competitions. And this video is a follow-up from last year's video where I discussed the future of Russian figure skating girls. And in this video, I'm gonna do a follow-up on those predictions. I'm also gonna discuss the recent Russian test skates, as well as, of course, do further predictions of which Russian figure skating girls are the most likely to return when the ban is lifted, whenever that is. And in the beginning, I'm mainly gonna focus on the current seniors, but at the end, I will also mention some promising juniors. But without any further ado, let's begin with the woman that has been with us the longest, Elizaveta Tultamysheva, also known as Lisa or the Empress. She is 26 years old, still going strong for another season, and honestly, it was a delight to see her back on the ice, in my opinion. She had an unusual program, which I thought was really moving. She got out these red stripes from her neck at the end of the program. I don't really know what the message was, but I felt like there was a deep message there. Anyways, the free program she reused from last season because she said that she wasn't invested enough to make 2 new programs, which is quite understandable since there isn't much at stake at all this season, with it just being national competitions. But I thought that she skated this program better than she ever did last season. She paid attention to every single note of the music. She was smiling a large part of it. She was just so in tune with the music, and I was, as usual, completely enthralled by her. There's just something about Lisa that captivates me, and her jumping was textbook as usual, although she didn't do any triple axels, which was surprising because that's her signature. But I'm quite confident that she's gonna perform then when the real competition begins. It might have been that it was test guides and she didn't want to risk anything or something like that, because last season she nailed her triple axels every single competition. It was amazing. And if we're gonna talk about the future, I honestly think Lisa is one of the skaters if we're talking about the current seniors, that has one of the best chances at getting back to that international stage. And hear me out why, because I know she's the oldest, but if we look at last season, I would argue that she was the most successful Russian senior, because as I recently mentioned, she nailed all of her triple axels. She had 3 triple axels in each competition, so there's loads of points, and she was very, very stable, while the other Russian senior girls was quite unstable throughout the season. And Lisa also came in 3rd place at Russian Nationals, arguably in first since Kamila won silver, but she wouldn't have been allowed to compete at the national because of her doping scandal. And Sofia Akateva, who won gold, she's a junior, so she wouldn't have been allowed to compete in seniors either. So Lisa was actually the best senior at Russian Nationals. And I think if Russia is let back in time for the next Olympics, Lisa is absolutely gonna do everything in her power to get there, because she has yet to compete at an Olympics, despite her being eligible for 3 Olympic cycles. And yes, she will be 29 at next Olympics, but I mean, look at the Alina Kostornaya, it's definitely possible. And I also think she has a good chance because of the raised age limit for women, because during the last years there has been a lot of young Russians being 15, 16 going to the Olympics, but that will not be possible anymore, since now you have to be at least 17, and that is something that is in favor for Lisa, actually. So yeah, that is my take. We'll see how it goes. Let's move on to 3A, Alexandra, Anna and Aliona, the iconic trio who dominated the juniors 2018 to 2019, as well as they were big names at the senior stage from 2020 to 2022. Let's begin with the quad queen, Alexandra Trusova, who unfortunately isn't gonna compete at all this season. It isn't that surprising. She is 19, which of course isn't old if you compare her to Lisa, who is 26. But Sasha comes from Terituturitsa, and I'm gonna repeat myself from last year's video. No single female skater has competed in their 20s from that camp. Just let that sink in once again. No single female skater has competed in their 20s from that camp. They usually retire between the ages 17 to 18 because of injuries, and they are overtrained, and Sasha seems to be following the same pattern. Last season she was severely injured in her back. She still tried to compete though, but it didn't look good at all. I don't think she even landed a fully rotated quad all throughout the season. She missed Russian nationals, and this year she's taking a break, which I think is very much needed. I think she should have done that last year too. I don't know why she still competed, because there wasn't really much at stake with only national competitions. So I think it's really good that she takes her time to rehabilitate her back and other injuries. But next year's season, she's gonna be 20, and it's gonna be even harder for her to jump quads with her not being a prepubescent teenage girl anymore. She's a woman, and that makes it harder to rotate quads. And I honestly doubt that she would want to keep skating competitively if she can't do quads. That's just my personal, how I see Sasha, because I see her as a girl who loves to jump. That's the best thing she knows about skating, is the jump. And besides that, she isn't that artistic. She hasn't got good skating skills. What she has been good at is jumping, and if she can only, in quotation marks, only do triples in the future, will she want to compete if she won't be as near as good as she was when she was a little teenager? I actually doubt that, and she also won't get good points anymore because when she lacks those jumps, and she lacks artistry, and she lacks skating skills, and she also lacks because she has switched coaches. She seems to at least have other stuff going on. She has released a pop song, because why not? She has also released a book, and she seems to be following the figure skater to influencer pipeline that seems to be a big thing in Russia currently. Moving on, we have Anna Shcherbakova, the 2022 Olympic champion, who I in last year's video said I was 95% sure was gonna retire. In this video, I'm gonna say I'm 99% sure he's gonna retire. Not 100% though, because you never know with Anna. She has proven everyone wrong before when people have counted her out, but she's gonna be 20 next year, and we all know what that means. She didn't compete at all last season because of an operation due to a knee injury. It doesn't look like she's gonna compete at all this season either, and I just think she has overstepped her limits of her body too many times, and which is really sad, because I would have loved to see her grow and develop her artistry. I think she has great fighting spirit and work ethics. Luckily, she seems to still be in a great place. She has a lot of fans in China after the Olympics, so she was on Olympic celebration tour there, and she was really appreciated. But I don't think we're gonna see her in any more competitions, just ice shows and in Russia and China probably. Then we have the third girl from 3A, Aliona Kostornaya. Who is actually skating this season? Yes, despite being 20 years old, what is happening? She's breaking all of the rules and patterns seen before. However, it isn't in female single skating, so it's still correct that no one from Eteritopoulos' camp has skated in female single skating in their 20s, but after 10,000 broken bones and switching coaches just as many times, Aliona is now back competing in pairs with a man she first dated, then got engaged to, and then got married to, all within 1 year. They both got married in braces in utter teenage fashion, with the Twilight soundtrack playing at their wedding, which I thought was a great homage to Aliona's iconic Twilight program. Also present at the wedding was fellow figure skater Shcherbakova. I think it's really sweet that they are such close friends, and Daria Usacheva was also there, who I'm gonna talk more about further on in this video. But back to Aliona. At test skates, she and her husband, I honestly thought they were pretty good, especially regarding that they only have trained together for less than a year. They performed triple throws, triple twists, triple jumps. They did triple flip and triple lutz as side-by-side jumps, which is one of the hardest jumps you can do in pairs. And Aliona has also mentioned that she wants to be the first one to do side-by-side triple axel in pairs, which would be so cool. But also I'm terrified. Please, Aliona, don't break any more bones. But my point is that they were quite good. Yes, they had a few stumbles here and there, but still, if they can stay injury-free and stay away from problems in their marriage, I guess, they can grow into a really good team. Even though I'm aware that the competition in pairs in Russia is fierce, it's super intense, I still think they are very likely to be sent to Grand Prix events when the ban is lifted, especially since Aliona is such a well-known name in the skating community. And regarding their programs, I especially like the free one, which was to music of the Hunger Games movies. And I mean, you just gotta love that Aliona is channeling the teenage girl inside all of us, with first doing Twilight and then the Hunger Games. The thing I was surprised by, though, was the lack of chemistry between them, which I didn't think would be a problem since they are bloody married, but maybe they were just focused on nailing all the elements, since this was their first, not competition, but almost a competitive outing as a pair. So hopefully the chemistry will be improving in the future, because Aliona is a wonderful interpreter. But besides competing in pairs, Aliona is also busy being a choreographer for the juniors in Angels of Plyushenko, and she also seems to be choreographing fellow figure skater Sofia Samodelkina. I think this suits her wonderfully, since artistry has always been one of her strongest sides in skating, and it's gonna be really interesting to see which programs she's gonna come up with. At test skates, Aliona also had a non-interaction, you could call it, with one of her former coaches, Daniil Gleikenhaus, who didn't even dare look her in the eye when they were standing right next to each other. Daniil was the coach who talked the most shit about Aliona in the media, questioning her work ethics and so on, because basically she didn't do everything she was told because she listened to her body. And I think it's quite telling that she is the girl who has still skating when she is 20, something that no other girl from that team has done ever before. And that's probably why, because she listened to her body, and she was the skater who trained with them also for the shortest amount of time. And honestly, good on him for not looking her in the eye. Aliona is a queen and he is honestly a piece of shit. But that was everything about Aliona. There's always tons of stuff going on in her life, but let's move on to some other athletic girls. There are a lot of them. We of course have to talk about Kamila Valieva, who, despite it having been confirmed that she has been testing positive for doping, is allowed to compete in Russia's national competitions, which is absolutely appalling and disgusting. The Russian Federation, how lenient they are towards doping, it just continues to surprise me. It startles me every single time. They introduced her as the European champion and as a gold medalist at the Olympics when she hasn't even gotten a gold medal. No one from the competition has received their medals because of her positive doping test. And I find it so weird the way they are praising her, because I'm Swedish, and if someone is caught doping in Sweden, everyone is gonna turn on you. You're gonna be hated. And that of course can be quite challenging for your mental health, but it is not acceptable at all to take illegal substances here. You lose all of your respect, even if you have won great things in the past and you haven't been taking illegal substances back then. All of your respect is lost. But here it seems to be the opposite way. Like, she's the one who is the most praised at test gates, and she has become the symbol of Russian pride and anti-West sentiments after the doping scandals. I'm just perplexed by it. And very soon she's gonna have a trial, and I do think she's gonna be suspended from international competitions there. However, I do wonder which consequences it will have in Russia. Will they still allow her to compete nationally despite the judge's decision to suspend her? Or will they completely disregard the international law? I'm actually thinking about making a video about the whole doping debacle and the mess that it was and currently is, so stay tuned for that. But because of the doping trial, which I do think is going to end up in a suspension for several years for her, I do not see a future for Kamila in international skating. She's most likely going to be able to return when she's 20-something, and we all know what that means for Adeliia Petrosian skater. And it's just a very sad story, because she could have been such a great figure skater. She has amazing flexibility and spins. Her artistry and commitment to her programs is always good, and at test skates I think she was definitely given the best programs from the Adeliia Petrosian camp, and she also knows how to sell them. I especially like the short one to Icy Red. However, regarding her jumps, she is nowhere near the form she was in the 2021-2022 season, when she had multiple quads and a triple axel. Last season she only had one ultra C element, a quad toe, and at this test skate she showed no ultra C elements at all, but maybe that will come further down this season. But if I'm gonna predict her future, I would say that we will probably not see her in international competitions ever again, but instead she will continue to be this symbol of Russian pride and honor and anti-West sentiments, and she will do a lot of exhibition galas and ice shows and become like an influencer of sorts. Then we can move on to the two other skaters, Daria and Maiia, who are the same age as Kamila but were always in her shadow. Let's begin with Daria Usacheva, the girl who was at Aliona's wedding. Daria, as we all probably remember, had this horrible injury 2 seasons ago at a Grand Prix event where she broke her hip and had to be in a wheelchair. So she has missed 2 seasons in a row, and it seems like she's gonna retire. She is back on the ice. Yes, she can do a few jumps, but she's currently beginning coaching, and when someone begins coaching, well, it doesn't look good for their own competitive skating, to say the least. And I think it's another example of a wasted potential, because the short amount of time that I got to see Daria, I loved her artistry. I think she could have grown into a beautiful skater, but she only got 1 month as a senior skater, like 1 month as a competitive senior skater. And now she is a coach under the same coach that got her this horrible injury. Like, what are you gonna teach the kids? How to injure yourself after 1 month of being a senior skater? Like, it's just horrible. It's just horrible. And during the summer, it was also released a statement from Adeliia Petrosian herself about the injury, because a lot of people were wondering why she could injure that severely during a warm-up. Why was she allowed to even be there and compete? And Adeliia said that they knew she had an injury, but Daria wanted to compete so badly that they let her. So they basically blamed the skater, which I think is it's such a disgusting move, because Daria was 15, she was a kid, and it's always this way with Adeliia. She always blames the minors for getting career-ending injury, and it's never her fault, ever. When in actuality, it is Adelia's responsibility, it's the adult and the coach's responsibility to stop the skaters if they are injured and they think the injury has a risk of getting worse when competing. And this is just yet another example of a very promising girl's career ending too early because of Adeliia Petrosian. Then we have Maiia Khromykh, who I thought was gone because we hadn't seen her for 2 years. I thought she was gonna retire in silence or something, but then she shows up at test skates. I was in utter shock, like, is she alive? But I was very delighted to see her back on the ice, and she seemed delighted to simply be present there and to skate after apparently having dealt with injuries all throughout last season. But it was evident that she isn't fully recovered. She had a couple of falls and she didn't do any triples, and I honestly have a hard time seeing her coming back to international stage as a top skater. Maybe for 1 season or so, if Russia is let back the next season. She will be 18 then, maybe she can go to some Grand Prix events, but I have a hard time seeing her being sent to Europeans and Worlds and so on. I don't think she's gonna be the top 3 of the Russian girls. And I don't think she has much time left because of the expiration date. That usually hits around the age she's now. She's 17, she's gonna be 18 next year, and it seems like it's already hitting her quite badly with these injuries. When she was asked about quads after her skate, she looked terrified, but she said that she was gonna try them this season, which I get it. You basically have to do ultra C elements in Russia if you want to be competitive, but I have a hard time seeing her mastering quads again. She never really mastered them fully in the first place. Yes, she landed some quads, but it wasn't a stable jump for her, and she has not good technique, and she is quite tall compared to the other girls, so and it's gonna be even harder to rotate the further she becomes a woman, you can say, the more puberty affects her. So I think it's gonna be very, very hard for her to regain the quads and to be a top skater again, honestly. But I'm at least very, very happy to see that she is back competing on the ice and that she's alive and well, because I honestly wonder if we ever were gonna see Maiia Khromykh again. Then we have come to the very last skater, who was a senior the last season that we saw Russians internationally, and that is the lovely Ksenia Sinitsyna, who is not coached by any of the famous Russian coaches and who also lacks ultra C elements and therefore is forever in the shadows. When she was introduced, the speaker honestly said, I'm not kidding, they literally said, do you remember the girl who was in 4th place at Junior Worlds when Anna and Sasha came in 1st and 2nd place? That was Ksenia Sinitsyna. Like, what was that for an introduction? They basically praised 2 other skaters and then said that she was in 4th place. That's a horrible introduction. But the reality for her is that she's always several places behind her fellow teammates, despite her having one of the most lovely skating skills and artistry currently in Russian figure skating, in my opinion. I was so thrilled that she continues skating. Each new season I'm terrified that she will retire because she never gets success, but she's still going strong, 19 years old. She's currently the 2nd oldest senior in Russia among the women, which is ridiculous. I mean, she's only 19, but yeah, that's what you get when your lead coach is a little bit. Anyways, I loved her free program at Test Guides. She usually skates to very tender classical music, which is perfect for her, but it was nice to see her do something out of her comfort zone, and she seemed to thoroughly enjoy herself. She just was one with the music. I loved every little movement, and she sang along with the music too. And every movement she does is just so refined and elegant, and I can already say that this program is gonna be one of my favorite programs for this season. However, on the negative side, it looked like she had an injury, because during the free skate she only did double axels. She did like 10 double axels and no other jump. But at the warm-up she looked very sad and bothered, and it was probably because of this injury. But I think they solved it quite good, because she still was able to skate and show us this brilliant, wonderful free program, which I'm very thankful for. But instead, they replaced all of the jumps with double axels, which is okay to do in such an event as this, since it isn't an actual competition where points are given out. But regarding her future, it's very hard to predict, because it first of all depends on if she's gonna continue skating, if she's gonna continue thinking it's worth it, even when she never gets to be on the podium and she's forever in the shadows. But I do hope she continues, because I think it's going to be easier for her to compete within Russia actually in the upcoming years, due to the raised age limit, because we all know that for women it's easier to do quads before you hit puberty. So most of the girls that do quads are 13, 14, 15, 16, sometimes even 17 and 18, but that's like at the highest age. And now when the age limit has been raised to 17, there are going to be fewer girls who can do those ultra C elements, and thus this might be an advantage for Ksenia, who lacks them. So in my opinion, if she just continues doing her triples, doing her lovely skating skills and artistry, she could be going to maybe even Worlds and Europeans, but that depends on the technical difficulty of her teammates, and also if she gets recognized for the qualities that she do have in terms of artistry and execution of the element, because currently she isn't, at least not in Russia, which is very, very sad. But I also think it depends upon if she will continue to try ultra C elements, because I know she has done that for the last several years. And my advice for her would be to stop doing that, because it's so risky. It's so easy to catch a really bad injury when you try ultra C elements, and she's 19. It's gonna get even harder the older she gets, and I just want her to continue being the brilliant, lovely little skater that she currently is, with her triples, with her skating skills, with her artistry. She is wonderful just the way she is, and I would hate for her career to have an early ending just because she lacks ultra C elements. Like, what is up with that? You shouldn't have to have quads and triple axels in order to skate in female skating. In my opinion, there's so much more to skating than that. Let's talk about the skaters that had their first senior season last season, beginning with Adeliia Petrosian, who is coached by Adeliia Petrosian. She has both ultra C elements in her arsenal as well as an abundance of charisma on the ice. And for the test guys, she showed us a Michael Jackson short program, which is some music that is a lot to carry, but I think she did really good with the choreography that she was given, even though I think her arm movements could have been a bit sharper, especially at the end, but she looked cute as a button. And in her free, she performed 2 quad toe loops. She landed one, although a bit wonky, and fell on the second one. But she was one of the few girls that actually attempted ultra C elements here at test guides. Notable though is that she didn't attempt her signature quad loop. She was the first female skater ever to land it, although it isn't official because it was in a national competition, but still. But she had a hard time landing it last season, so it seems like she is focusing on quad toe instead. And currently this season, I think is looking quite bright for her, because she is the main Iteritutberitsa girl, I would say, with Sofia Akateva dealing with an injury I will talk about further on in this video, and Kamila Valieva having her doping trial. So she really is the only senior Iteritskaita. And if Russia is let back next season, I think she very much will be in the mix, competing for being sent to Europeans and Worlds. However, the question is how long she will last after that, since she will be 17 next year. I have talked a lot about the Isteri expiration date already, you know what I mean. Additionally, her ultra C elements haven't been that stable, and she is very heavily reliant on low body weight and the fact that she's very short, and if she begins to grow and hit puberty, she's gonna lose her ultra C elements very, very fast. But what she does have is charisma and artistry, and I think she's very reminiscent of Isabella Vito from USA and Yevgenia Medvedeva from Russia. Let's move on to Sofia Muraviova, who is coached by Plyushenko, and I am really a big fan of Sofia ever since the first time I saw her. She has good skating skills and jumping technique, and also a nice feeling for the music. You can really see that she feels the music in her body when she skates, and I really appreciate that. She didn't deliver any triple axels here though, which she usually does, but I think they will become a part of her program once the proper competition starts, because in her free she had 2 double axels scheduled in the beginning of the program, and that's very weird to have, so I think they will be transformed into triples when the competition begins. And I think Sofia is one of the skaters that has one of the brightest futures currently, because as I mentioned, she has a good foundation with skating skills, jumps, triple axel and artistry, and she is also coached by Evgeny Plyushenko, who has stated that he wants his skate to have longevity in the sport, in contrast to a 30 skater, and he himself was coached by Alexandra Trusova, who coaches Elizaveta Tultamysheva, which is currently 26 years old, still going strong. So I do have hope for her, and I do think if Russia is left back next season, she will also be a skater that have good chances of being sent to Europeans and Worlds if she is allowed to stay injury-free. Then we have Sofia Samodelkina. I don't know what's going on with this girl. She wasn't present at test skates. I don't know if she's injured or what is happening. There were some rumors about her trying to switch to Kazakhstan this summer, which of course would open many doors for her, because she will right away be the best female Kazakh skater and she would be sent to all of the big competitions. But yeah, I don't really know what's happening with that or at all with her, except from that she is choreographed by Aliona Kostornaya, which is exciting, but maybe her wanting to switch federations to Kazakhstan is the reason that she wasn't present at test skates. Then I want to mention 3 juniors. First of all, we have to talk about Alina Gorbacheva, the Russian junior champion of 2023, who went missing in the beginning of the season, or more accurately, she ran away from her coach. She was gone for over a day and until she was found sleeping in a movie theater. She has apparently been living with her coach since she was 9 years old, and during the last 3 years, she hasn't been allowed to contact neither her mum nor her grandma, which is absolutely absurd. And it was horrifying to hear the comments from some of the big names in Russian figure skating blaming Alina for running away. And not seeing that, of course, it wasn't Alina's fault. If a literal child runs away, it's something wrong with the adults in her close environment, because you just don't run away and are missing for several days just for fun. It is a reaction to a bad environment. That now she is apparently back with a coach, and I don't know how that is working at all. I sincerely hope they can work it out, and most of all that she is able to talk with her family again. And it must have been really awkward to skate at test skates in front of all these people, and she knowing that some of them would probably blame her for running away and think badly of her, and that everyone would scrutinize the exchanges between her and her coach. The skates themselves were quite alright, though. She had been injured this summer, so she didn't perform her quadruple salto, which is what she's most famous for, because she is able to do a quad jump despite not being from one of the big famous coaches in Russia. But otherwise, it was quite good. She has some nice themes, but her artistry isn't that remarkable yet, which is quite understandable. She's only 15, that will have time to grow in the future, but I have a really hard time predicting her future, because I think it all depends on how her coaching environment, and it doesn't look good if you run away from your coach, and it's not an environment where I think it breeds success, in my opinion. Then we have Sofia Akateva, who is coached by Adeliia Petrosian, who is unfortunately for her born 1 week too late to be a senior. Although she was able still to win the Russian senior title in 2023 because they don't have such age limit in national competitions. However, it's questionable for how long she will be able to last. I think she was brought forward as the new Kamila Valieva with both triple axel and quad jumps in her arsenal, but here at Testgate she only performed the short program because of an injury, so she withdrew from the free. Although the short program I thought was really lovely. I think the music suited her and she looked beautiful in that dress. It's gorgeous. But yeah, I think it's going to be hard for her to last for a long time in the sport. She's already 16 and she will be 18 for her first senior season, which will be the Olympic season. And if Russia is allowed back then, I do think she have a good chance of going to the Olympics because she is will be one of the few Eteri skaters available to push, and Eteri will for sure push for her skaters to go to Olympics, and she has very close relationship with the Russian Federation, so I think she has a really good chance of having one good season, but she will probably plummet after the Olympics if she follows the pattern that the other Eteri skaters have had, unfortunately. But now we have come to the very last skater I want to mention. That is Veronika Zhilina, who is coached by Evgeny Plyushenko. This girl has gorgeous jumps. She performed a beautiful quadruple toe loop and then fell on a quadruple salto. But just her jumping technique, look at this lutz, is glorious. And I am so happy to finally see one performing quads with good technique and not cheated quads. And I do think she's one who has a very, very bright future if she can stay injury-free, which I hope will be the case when she's coached by Plyushenko. But it's always, of course, very risky to do quads. That is very injury-prone, I think, regardless of the coach you have. And regarding her programs, I think she is quite good at picking up choreography. I like the little chest bump in the short program, and I love her choreography sequence in her free program. I love the cantilever with the arm movements, and it was to Michael Jackson because everyone is doing that apparently this year after John did it last season. But besides the choreographic elements, it was a bit lacking, I think, in terms of engagement from her in the rest of the skates, which is very understandable since she's still a junior. But I think it was too much for her to carry this music. But yeah, otherwise I think she will have one of the most bright futures of the skaters I have talked about today. And that was everything for today. Thank you. If you have stayed for so long in this video, please write in the comments down below your predictions. Who do you think will dominate this season, and who do you think will make it back to the international stage? And until you see me next time, take care of yourself and the people around you. Bye!